the president's going to start with the economy. The fact is, right now, we have an economy that is being changed rather dramatically by technology. That has had the effect of spreading prosperity in unimaginable ways.
There's Josh Earnest from the podium there at the White House talking about the president's address tonight where he will outline how he sees the State of the Union, talking about the fabulous economy that we have. Join us on the line right now, Larry Kudlow, CNBC senior contributor, host of the Larry Kudlow Show, heard here on WMAL Saturdays at 7 p.m. Larry, do you agree with Josh Earnest's assessment of the economy?
Completely. Absolutely, completely. It's a brilliant analysis.
All right, thank you, Larry. Thanks for joining us.
Look, this is one of the worst recoveries in history in terms of, let's see, real GDP. It's the worst, actually worse than the Bush recovery. Reagan's recovery was very strong. JFK's recovery was very strong. This is not, I mean, there's some crowing going on. I saw this in Paul Krugman's column yesterday about jobs improving, which is true. Jobs are going up, but the problem is, as a share of the labor force, jobs are really underperforming. They should be doing much more. You know, we've got a larger population, and we're not putting it to work. There are a number of reasons for that. One of them is, there are some retirees. I agree with that. On the other hand, you've got a lot of part-time workers who would rather be working full-time. The so-called underemployment rate is about 10, so the measured unemployment is 5. That's an unusually large spread. And you also have this issue, which I think Paul Ryan and the Republicans want to focus on, and that is we're paying people not to work through a variety of disincentives, like all the welfare reforms have been gutted, food stamps, unemployment insurance, disability insurance, and all the way down the line. Really, actually, Obamacare falls into that category, too. So if you make, if you go from, say, $25,000 to $35,000 at the lower end of the scale, you're actually penalized because of the tax burden or the benefit loss. Some of these tax rates are 50%, upwards of 70%. That's kind of something it's a dirty little secret that the administration doesn't want to talk about, but it's true.
Yeah, Larry, and you heard Josh Earnest there. I've been hearing this from the administration. The president says this. Whenever he's confronted with the underemployment numbers and the lack of jobs growth, he says, well, our economy has grown technologically in such a rapid fashion that there are a lot of people who are excluded from the job market because of their training and their skills, and they just need to get up to speed technologically. Couldn't you have said that at any moment in time in the last 4 decades?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the irony of that argument is that technology explosions generally create more jobs,
yes,
not less. I mean,
people don't get fired because of technology explosions.
Some might, but the net effect, I mean, way back to Intel and Microsoft and places like that, and more recently, Apple, various social media companies. They create booms, and by the way, they do a lot of job training inside the company. So that's a really garbage in, garbage out by Mr. Ernst. I've never met him. It's not personal, but I think he's barking up the wrong tree. You can go back 100 years. You can go back 150 years. Steam engines created jobs.
Right.
Oil created jobs. Spindletop in Pennsylvania. They were big job creators. You're basically telling me cars didn't create any jobs. Refrigerators didn't create any jobs. Electricity didn't create any jobs. These all pulled the economy down. Now, that's an interesting angle. It'll be a tough one to prove, I think.
All right. So the president's going to give his final State of the Union address. Do you intend to be in that chamber when the next president gives his State of the Union address?
What exactly are you asking me?
I'm asking, do you intend to be in that chamber when the next president gives his next State of the Union address?
A guest of First Lady Trump, perhaps.
Oh, gosh, I'd love that. She's a lovely woman. I would love to be her guest. Anytime.
That's not what we mean, and you know it.
No, that's not what we're asking.
He's a terrific guy. I don't know. I've got a large TV screen here and it's a comfortable chair. It's really I live a lovely life. I just want you fellas to know that.
Yeah. So you're not going to answer my question. I see how it is.
Well, listen, you mentioned the oil.
You expect me to, did you?
A moment? No, we didn't really. A moment ago,
Hail Mary.
You mentioned how the oil industry, 100 years ago, created great jobs. Yes. But we've got a real problem with the oil industry in America right now, and those jobs are drying up. We now see that oil has plummeted to $31 a barrel. I think it was. Like what do you see here?
It's an interesting point. We had dinner last night with Harold Hamm, kind of the father of fracking and particularly horizontal drilling. In New York we have a group, Art Laffer and Steve Moore and I and Steve Forbes, and it's called the Committee to Unleash Prosperity. And Mr. Hamm was our guest, and he's the back end fields in North Dakota. Also a lot of work in California. I'll tell you what he said. He said, we're coming to the end of this oil slump. He said the price is going to turn around faster, probably in the next 15 months than most folks expect. He's looking for $50 to $60 oil. And he also made an interesting point. Yes, some little firms are going to be hurt by this. They may go under, absolutely, but it's a small percentage of the industry. Even I've heard there's some distressed bankers. Most of these companies have long-term debt, so they can weather, a cyclical downturn in the price of oil. Now, if you say oil is going to be at $25 a barrel for the next 10 years, I think the damage will be much worse to that industry. Harold Hamm felt that was not going to be the case, and within 2 years, most of the companies are going to come back online. So he took a rather optimistic view. I was listening carefully. He's an old friend. I've interviewed him many times. He's a really smart guy. He feels $50 a barrel, more or less, is the equilibrium price.
Okay. Well, I know a lot of people in the industry would be looking forward to that. And actually, that wouldn't drive prices up too high either. Larry Kudlow, thanks for joining us. Always good to have you, sir.